work with a lot of young brothers of color coming from multicultural, biracial backgrounds, mixed kids. I'm one of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you, or how have you come to terms with your ancestry?
So not everybody's ancestry from the past is all rainbows and colorful rainbows. It's like
most are not.
Crazy shit. Most are not. And
I would say probably all are not. You know.
So what I notice is there's a denial, which is energy. There's an energy, denial. And sometimes people can do all this work. And a lot of my work, I do a lot of ancestral work. And so a lot of my work, it's like, there's this level here. And it was like, I've already done this. I'm like, yeah, but you got, if you have a grandmother's, guess whose DNA is inside of you right now? You've denounced that person and you're wondering why. There's some aspect that's missing, because to not accept the whole, you can't accept the whole with their DNA still inside of you. So for me, what I've learned how to do, because I love puzzles, is to track things. And my brother, in a way that I love putting puzzle pieces together, it's like God blessed him with the being the family historian and being able to track things all the way back to like slave records until they burn these things, and he'll go fly to this place and meet this cousin that has these pictures. And he's done that all over the world and has literally pieced together so many different things where I can pinpoint this guy right here. Hold on. My great-great-grandfather, who I keep on my mantle. I can pinpoint this guy right here. And in the beginning, his slave owner wrote a letter in the mail. I mean, there's an article in the newspaper, and he was like, if everybody in the world were like this guy, and he was like, black or white, we would live in a better place. He has the ability to bring people together that don't like each other. And meanwhile, I'm reading this and I get the chills thinking about it. I'm reading this thinking I'm the only person in my family that's operated like this, because we come from a long line of teachers. And I'm reading this thing about this guy who was in the Civil War and whatever. And
he's a uniter. You know
what I'm saying? And I'm reading my characteristics.
Right.
Inside of a slave owner talking about him and his characteristics. And I'm like, hold on, wait a second. I need to start studying people from the past, because they're going to give me certain codes. So what I started doing is when I would go into meditation and I take these photos, let's have a conversation. And then whatever would come through, boom. And it was, it's like when you start practicing a muscle, you start getting acclimated to it. So I started practicing having conversations and it not being weird with people whose DNA is already inside of me right now. So if I want to fully be embodied, to accept everything that they've done. I was talking to a white friend of mine, and he was like, no, but I'm not racist, and my great-great-grandfather and something like that. But you're wanting to know why there's something missing, because you've never actually accepted the past. So in order for you to move forward, you have to fully accept all of it. Not to say that you condone it, but in the full self-acceptance is to not deny any level of DNA that's inside of you right now. So from there, you start getting all this power. Well, guess what? They had power, they had gifts, and just maybe the people that, for some of our ancestors, they try to hang them because they weren't like in the church and deeply spiritual. Well, maybe they were smart like us too. Maybe they were saying, you know what, they can take my physical body, but they can't take my soulful self. They can't take my spiritual self. So I'm going to go into the spiritual realm and I'm going to look for someone. I'm going to look for a vessel that chooses in. And so the way I see a wolf pack, you see the one that's looking for the dead carcass, and then all of a sudden checking to see it's okay, and then goes and tells the rest of the wolves, and then the whole pack comes. So how I have it is, my grandmother was the ancestor that's assigned to me. She went on the other side in 2015. She was waiting for me to say, I'm the one. Use me. Use me. I choose in fully, and I accept everything that they've done. And because I accepted it, now I have full access to all of their gifts. All of their gifts. And it's effortless. Like being in a kitchen and there's 10 people that can pass me the fork, pass me the this, pass me the that. So when you watch me in facilitation,
you're like, here, grandma, taste this. Does it need more salt?
Right. So like that. So when I'm in facilitation and it's deeply safe, and then you watch me work, you're like, how did you see that? I was like, no, I'm not working by myself. I was like, God and my gods are like, we are here, and I'm an access point to be used, and I fully trust that what comes through. But I've also accepted. It's like whenever you do something crazy, like I've accepted all the crazy stuff that I've done with women in the past, claimed it, owned it, took responsibility. And I said, you know what? Whatever it is that you want to say with me, I will own it because I'm in full responsibility. So when you just claim it, something happens and you transcend the human construct, and then you can be used as a conduit for a much more in-depth level of magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And so how does that, I'm just going to bring, Chief back in, knowing that you have a son and that you are also passing on that DNA in that way. Yeah, I wonder if there's anything there for you. How will you prepare him?
Well, I will share with you this. It's interesting you say this. Out of all of the men in the last 3 generations that have had kids, and kids have had kids, and kids have had kids, they've all been women. They've all been girls. And I was like, and it became this running joke. I mean, 3 generations, cousins, aunties, uncles. If it was from the man, it was always girl. But it wasn't until I shifted my behavior around women that I could actually see the picture while I was in the frame. I could actually see the frame that I was in. I was like, oh my goodness, all the men from the past treated women how I treated women. They cheated. There was like leaky energy and all this. It was like the toxic behaviors and never really creating a safe space to be around them. My brother, he's going to come back into this, and this is how this plays into Chief. My brother found a letter after my big mama died. There was this chest that I would see when I was a little kid, and this is where we would go and get the comforters and pillows and everything. He moved that chest out of the way and he found a secret door. He opens up the door and finds all these hidden letters. He opens up a letter from his wife, who was having an affair with another man. This whole line, they had a baby, and that baby created the whole line of where infidelity even started. My brother found the letter of the secret letters, and I was like, this is where this shit comes from? It wasn't even mine. So just like you can inherit, your son might look like you and my daughter and everything, you can inherit in the strands of your DNA certain behaviors. And so I was like, oh, well, then this shit stops right here with me. So I made a vow to be a leader of my lineage. And when I decided to be a leader of my lineage, that it was the hardest work I've ever done in my life. I had been tested and tested. Every girl, I mean, it just left and right. But I drove my Triton into the ground even further. Commitment comes first. And so it was almost like it demagnetized the weapons of mass distraction. And it's so interesting is when I developed that level of trust. And my daughter said, Daddy, you're different. And all these women, they started changing based off of how they saw me father. And they were saying, I've never seen a father be like that to a daughter. So they started picturing their dad as me. And that's why that's where I even got that from, because their lives changed based off their perception of their dad. That's when I met my wife. So all of this happened and I became the leader of my lineage, but I also changed the character of how men show up, period. And now all of a sudden, 45 years later, the next boy comes through me. I'm like, oh my goodness. God says, you did the work. Now let me show you what I can do. I gave you girl after girl after girl after girl because I need you. I'm going to need every man to learn this lesson. Now let me show you this blessing right here.